For decades, the West believed that its own civilization was the result of a combination of Greek and Roman influences. However, Greek philosophers wrote about their inspiration from even more ancient sources. Reports from travelers returning to Europe revealed the existence of imposing pyramids and temple cities hidden in the sand of Egypt and protected by strange stone sculptures known as sphinxes. In 1799, when Napoleon arrived in Egypt, he took experts with him to investigate these ancient monuments. During his explorations, an officer found a stone tablet near Rosetta that contained a proclamation from the year 196 BC, written in hieroglyphics, along with other writings. The deciphering of these writings and the improvement of archaeological efforts revealed to the West that there had been an advanced civilization in Egypt long before the arrival of Greek civilization. Egyptian records speak of dynasties dating back to around 3100 BC, 2 millennia before the beginning of Hellenic civilization. Although Greece reached its maturity between 500 BC and 400 BC, it was more of a laggard than an innovator. Could it be that the true origin of our civilization is hidden in the ancient ruins of Egypt? Since ancient times, the story of Greek experts and their visits to Egypt had been a mystery shrouded in theories and seemingly logical conclusions. However, further investigation reveals that the facts point in a different direction. When we investigate the pre-Hellenic cultures of the Aegean Sea, including the Minoan of Crete and the Mycenaean of mainland Greece, we discover evidence that these cultures adopted Middle Eastern culture, not Egyptian. Syria and Anatolia, not Egypt, were the main means by which an older civilization reached the Greeks. Coincidence of the Dorian invasion of Greece and the Israelite invasion of Canaan, following the exodus from Egypt around the 13th century BC, has led experts to be fascinated by discovering a growing number of similarities between Semitic and Hellenic civilizations. Professor Cyrus H. Gordon, with his work Evidence for the Minoan Language, opened up new horizons in research, showing how an ancient Minoan script known as linear represented a Semitic language. Gordon concluded that the pattern of the Hebrew and Minoan civilizations is the same to a reasonable extent. He also pointed out the similarity between the name of the island of Crete, a word written in Minoan as Kereta, and the Hebrew word Kerit, creating a correspondence in a Semitic tale about a king of Keret. These findings call into question the traditional theory about the visits of Greek specialists to Egypt and point to the need for further research into the relationship between the ancient civilizations of the Middle East and Greece. The history of the alphabet is a fascinating journey across centuries and continents. The Hellenic alphabet, which is the basis for Latin and all our modern alphabets, had its roots in the Middle East. According to ancient Greek historians, a Phoenician named Cadmus gave them the alphabet, which comprised the same number of letters and the same order as Hebrew. This was the only Greek alphabet used at the time of the Trojan War. But the evolution of the alphabet didn't stop there. The poet Simonides of Ceos increased the number of letters to 26 in the 5th century BC. And so the Hellenic alphabet became even more complete and refined, paving the way for the evolution of Latin writing, and consequently, all the modern alphabets we know. The legacy of writing that has shaped our Western culture has its roots in the Middle East. It is undeniable by comparing the order, names, symbols, and even numerical values of the original Middle Eastern script with the later Greek script and even later Latin script. Ancient historians had clear knowledge of Greek contacts with the Middle East during the first millennium BC culminating in Alexander of Macedon's victory over the Persians in 331 BC. Greek records are rich in information about the Persians and their lands, a region corresponding to present-day Iran. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more amazing content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us continue creating awesome videos for you. Also, give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. By analyzing the names of their kings, Cyrus, Darius, and Xerxes, and their deities, they apparently belonged to the Indo-European linguistic lineage. Historians have come to the conclusion that they were part of the Aryan people who emerged near the Caspian Sea around the end of the 2nd millennium BC. They populated the regions west of Asia Minor, east towards India, and south to what is known as the lands of the Medes and Persians. As the lands of the Medes and Persians in the Old Testament. However, it's not as simple as it sounds. Although the foreign origin of the invaders is widely accepted, the Old Testament sees them as an integral part of biblical events. Cyrus, for example, is described as being consecrated by Yahweh, an unusual relationship between the Hebrew God and a non-Hebrew God. According to the book of Ezra, Cyrus was informed of his mission to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem and claimed to be acting on the orders of Yahweh, whom he called God of Heaven. The kings of Cyrus's dynasty called themselves Achaemenids, a title adopted by the dynasty's founder, Hacham-Anesh. This title was not Aryan, but perfectly Semitic, meaning wise man. In general, scholars disregard the evidence suggesting similarities between the Hebrew god Yahweh and the Achaemenid deity known as the Wise God, depicted floating in the heavens inside a winged globe, as shown on the royal seal of Darius. Research into the cultural, religious, and historical roots of the ancient Persians has led to the discovery of links with the ancient empires of Babylon and Assyria, whose conquests and downfalls are recorded in the Old Testament. Initially, the symbols present on Achaemenid monuments and seals were seen only as decorative designs. However, when Engelbert Kampfer visited Persepolis in 1686, he described the inscriptions as cuneiform, or wedge-shaped marks. As efforts to decipher the Achaemenid inscriptions began, it became clear that they were written in the same type of script found on ancient artifacts in Mesopotamia. These scattered discoveries led Paul-Émile Botta to set off in 1843 to carry out the first major excavation, choosing a site in northern Mesopotamia near present-day Mosul, now known as Khorsabad. Botta's efforts quickly revealed that the cuneiform inscriptions identified the site as Dur-Sharu-Kin. They were in Semitic script, a language related to Hebrew, and meant fortified city of the righteous king. This king is known in our textbooks as Sargon II. In the center of the Assyrian capital, ruled by Sargon II, there was a majestic royal palace whose walls were decorated with carved bas-reliefs, which, arranged in a row, stretched for more than a kilometer. Command of the city and the royal complex was in the hands of a stepped pyramid called a ziggurat, which served as a stairway to heaven for the gods. The excavations reveal a sophisticated lifestyle, with palaces, temples, houses, stables, warehouses, walls, gates, columns, decorations, statues, works of art, towers, ramps, terraces, and gardens, all completed in just 5 years. According to Georges Contineau in Everyday Life in Babylon and Assyria, the imagination is speechless at the potential capacity of an empire that was able to accomplish so much in such a short time. The fact that it took place approximately 3,000 years ago only adds to the achievement. Afraid of being overtaken by the French, the English entered the scene through Sir Arthur Henry Layard, who chose Kyunjike, located about 16 kilometers along the Tigris River from Khorsabad, as his place of work. It became the Assyrian capital of Nineveh. Biblical characters and events began to come to life. Nineveh was the main city of Assyria under the commands of the last three great rulers, Sennacherib, Esarhaddon, and Ashurbanipal. According to the Old Testament, in the 14th year of Hezekiah's reign, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, attacked all the fortified cities of Judah. When the angel of the Lord gathered his army, Sennacherib retreated and settled in Nineveh. The hills where Nineveh was built by Sennacherib and Ashurbanipal reveal palaces, temples, and works that surpass those of Sargon. The area believed to be the treasury of Esarhaddon's palaces cannot be excavated, as it is now a Muslim mosque erected over the burial place that is said to be the tomb of Jonah the prophet, who was swallowed by a whale when he refused to take Yahweh's message to Nineveh. Layard read in ancient Greek records that an officer in Alexander's army had seen a place of pyramids and traces of an ancient city. If you've made it this far, you're clearly enjoying the content. Why not take a moment to become part of our community? Hit that subscribe button down there, and let's embark on this journey together. And, of course, if you found something valuable or entertaining in this video, give it a thumbs up. There is no doubt that the city of Nimrod was a powerful military center at the time of the Assyrian kings. It is where Shalmaneser I erected an obelisk to record his conquests and military expeditions. Today, this obelisk is displayed in the British Museum and lists Jehu, the son of Omri, king of Israel, among those who were obliged to pay tribute. The discovery of this obelisk is just one more example of the frequent corroboration between biblical narratives and archaeological finds. Assyriologists, specialists in Assyria, were fascinated by this growing trend and returned to chapter X of the book of Genesis. Here, Nimrod is described as a mighty hunter by the grace of Yahweh and as the founder of all the kingdoms of Mesopotamia, including Babel, Erech, and Akkad in the land of Shinar. From there, Ashur, the city where Nineveh was built, with its wide streets, and the cities of Kala and Rizin, situated between Nineveh and Kala, originated. Excavations in the lands of Mesopotamia have brought to light the remains of the region's two great powers, Assyria and Babylon. As historical rivals, both shared a cultural and material heritage that was as intense as it was distinct. The teams led by Walter Andre excavated the sacred city of Ashur, Assyria's religious center, and discovered the ruins of the empire's remote capital. On the other hand, the team led by Robert Koldewey completed the excavation of Babel, the biblical Babylon, which revealed a vast site of palaces, temples, and hanging gardens. Both empires, which existed for around 1,500 years, reached their peak around 1900 BC. However, both Assyria and Babylon were conquered and destroyed over time, with Assyria falling to the Babylonians in 614 and 612 BC and Babylon itself being conquered by the Achaemenid Cyrus in 539 BC. In the cultural field, Assyria called its main deity Ashur, which means the all-seeing one, while Babylon acclaimed Marduk, whose meaning is son of Ea, the Babylonian name for Enki, the Sumerian god of wisdom. Despite this, the pantheons were virtually identical. In this way, excavations in Mesopotamia have allowed historians to discover and unravel the rich history of these two rival civilizations. Many museums around the world have among their precious exhibits ceremonial items, winged bulls, bas-reliefs, battle chariots, tools, jewelry, statues, and other objects made of every imaginable material that have been unearthed from the hills of Assyria and Babylon. However, the real treasures of these reigns are their written records, including thousands of inscriptions in cuneiform script. Here, we find histories of kings, temple records, commercial contracts, marriage and divorce records, astronomical tables, astrological forecasts, mathematical formulas, geographical lists, scholastic, grammatical, and vocabulary texts, and, of course, texts about the gods, including their names, genealogies, deeds, and powers. Akkadian was the common language that united Assyria and Babylonia culturally and religiously. It was the first known Semitic language, similar to but preceding Hebrew, Aramaic, Phoenician, and Canaanite. However, the Assyrians and Babylonians did not claim the invention of language or writing. In fact, many of their records note that they were copied from even older originals. So who invented cuneiform writing and developed the language, its precise grammar and rich vocabulary? Who wrote the ancient originals? And why did the Assyrians and Babylonians call this language Akkadian? Attention turns to the book of Genesis, which mentions, "And the beginning of his kingdom, Babel, and Erech, and Akkad." Did Akkad really exist as a capital prior to Babylon and Nineveh? The incredible ruins of Mesopotamia point to the existence of a kingdom known as Akkad, ruled by Shurukkin. The unteachable leaders. According to their inscriptions, the empire expanded through the grace of their god, Enlil, from the lower sea, comprising today's Persian Gulf, to the upper sea, believed to be today's Mediterranean Sea. The ruler proudly claimed to have docked ships from distant lands at the Akkad landing. Scholars were surprised to discover such an ancient Mesopotamian empire, dating back to 3000 BC and yet so advanced. After excavations in the hills, artifacts were found that portrayed a civilization ready to take off long before Babylon and Assyria. We've got some exciting things in store, and you won't want to miss out. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you're the first to know when we drop exclusive content. And if you loved what you saw today, give us a thumbs up. It really helps us out. Join our community of awesome subscribers, and let's turn this channel into something extraordinary together. Subscribe, like, and stay tuned for more incredible content coming your way. Moreover, the Akkadian civilization was revealed as the source and predecessor of future Mesopotamian civilizations. As inscriptions recording the achievements and genealogy of Sargon and Akkad were discovered, the mystery about this remote Mesopotamian civilization only increased. Sargon's full title was King of Akkad, King of Kish, which led scholars to wonder if there was an earlier kingdom, that of Kish, which preceded Akkad. The biblical verses take on even more meaning when looked at more closely. In the book of Genesis, it is written that Cush created Nimrod, who was the first to be a hero on earth, and whose reign began in Babel, Erech, and Akkad. Scholars have speculated that Sargon of Akkad could be the same as the biblical Nimrod. If we changed Cush to Kish in the above verses, it would appear that Nimrod was preceded by Kish, just as Sargon said in his inscriptions. Thus, scholars have come to accept his inscriptions literally, in which he boasts of having defeated Uruk, won the battle against the inhabitants of Ur, and conquered all the territory until he reached the sea. Archaeological discoveries have confirmed that Uruk and Ur were indeed the same as the Erech and Ur of the Bible. In addition, the excavation of the site now known as Warka proved the existence of kingdoms and cities before 3000 BC. The challenge was to know how far back we would have to go to discover the first civilized kingdom. The answer to this mystery would once again be found in linguistics. Scholars quickly discovered that names were not only significant in Hebrew and the Old Testament, but throughout the ancient Middle East. All the Akkadian, Babylonian, and Assyrian names of people and places had deep meaning. However, the names of rulers who ruled before Sargon of Akkad were completely unknown. The king to whose court Sargon was an advisor was called Urzababa. The king who ruled in Erech was known as Lugal-Zajazai, and so on. At a conference for the Royal Asiatic Society in 1853, Sir Henry Rawlinson observed that these names were neither Semitic nor Indo-European. In fact, they seemed to belong to an unknown group of languages or peoples. So what was the mysterious language that gave the names their meaning? Scholars turned their attention to Akkadian inscriptions. Akkadian cuneiform writing was essentially syllabic, with each sign representing a whole syllable, such as ab, ba, bat, etc. However, the writing also often used signs that were not phonetic syllables, but symbolized concepts such as God, city, field, life, exalted, among others. The only possible explanation for this was that these signs were the vestiges of an older method of writing, similar to pictograph. Therefore, the Akkadian language must have been preceded by another language that used a writing method similar to Egyptian hieroglyphics. The experts' findings revealed not only the presence of an ancient form of writing, but also a lost language. Analysis of the Akkadian inscriptions and texts revealed the presence of words borrowed from another language, retained untouched, just as we use the word weekend in French. This was especially true when it came to scientific or technical terminology, as well as subjects related to the gods and the sky. One of the greatest finds of Akkadian texts was the ruins of the Library of Nineveh, administered by Ashurbanipal. There, Layard and his colleagues recovered 25,000 bars, many of which were described by the ancient scribes as copies of ancient texts. One group of 23 bars ended with the statement 23 RD bar, unmodified Sumer language. Another text contained an enigmatic statement by Ashurbanipal. The God of the scribes has given me the knowledge of his art. I have been initiated into the secrets of writing. I can even read the intricate bars in Sumeria. I understand the enigmatic words in the stone inscriptions from the days before the flood. Ashurbanipal's claim that he could read the intricate bars written in Sumeria and understand the enigmatic words of the days before the flood only added to the mystery. But in January 1869, Jules Oppert proposed to the French Society of Numismatics and Archaeology that the existence of a pre-Akkadian language and people be recognized. He pointed out that the ancient rulers of Mesopotamia proclaimed themselves legitimate with the title King of Sumer and Akkad, suggesting that the people were called Sumerians and their territory Sumer. Although he got the pronunciation wrong, it was Shumer, not Summer. Oppert was correct. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel for more great content. Together, let's explore more of the world's history and culture. See you next time.